Well, hello there, welcome to the Obi Thorin Alliance. In today's video, we are reviewing and discussing Morning Wars on Apple TV+. If you can, like and subscribe. And I guess we'll start off with a little recap for people that haven't seen it yet. And so how would you recap or describe the show to the audience, Luke?
Okay, so I think Morning Wars is a show that follows your typical morning TV show. So in America, you've probably got like Good Morning America or The Morning Show, Today Show. In Australia, we've got like Sunrise and The Today Show, and it's kind of a big thing in the world. People love watching these TV shows. So this follows the behind the scenes of what goes on there, but surrounds Steve Carell's character, Mitch Kessler, being fired for sexual misconduct. So that's the main theme throughout the show. Plus, we then get to see how it all works. So he gets fired for sexual misconduct. The show's in turmoil. They've got his co-anchor, who is Jennifer Aniston's character. She later finds, soon in the season, finds out that she's actually getting looked to be replaced. But knowing that the show's in turmoil, they've just lost one of their stars, she actually finds herself in a position where they kind of need her. And eventually, we'll talk about it later, she manipulates them in a way that she then gets a female star, which is, I don't know of that being a common thing in any morning shows, but in this they make a big deal about it and how there's a lot of people against it, but then also how it can help the network having two females, especially after a male co-star's been in trouble for sexual assault, that it just seems right to mend everything by having two females. And again, we'll talk about it more. What kind of happens after that? What we find out a bit about the big bosses.
A lot of, unfortunately, a lot of stuff has been going on in the underbelly of the corporation, in the workplace, and that it was quite a wrong thing that happened between all the employees and all the big boss, and the signs were there with Mitch, and unfortunately no one tried to, I guess, stop him or try to,
there's people that attempted to make complaints and report the sexual misconduct that's going on, but the big bosses would either cover it up or even promote people to try and keep their mouth shut because they're aware of what's going on, which I guess is something that would probably happen in real workplaces. So it makes you see things, and it also shows you from his perspective that he actually believes that what he did was not wrong. So it makes you you sympathize with the female, and you also sympathize with the person that's done the wrong thing. And we're almost left at the end of the series questioning whether what he did was wrong, or could it be interpreted differently if you look at it from a different perspective. So it makes you see, feel, think of different things. You get to see behind the scenes of what happens on these new shows. It's overall an awesome show with really good characters. There is
cast very well.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of like important things we want to talk about, but we might do that in a spoiler section, because if you haven't seen the show, I don't want to give it away, because like there is some good twists and turns in this show.
I think it's worth watching season 1 to get ready for season 2, because it's coming out September 17th, so there's time left, but because there's 10 episodes, it goes for a good length of time that you feel invested, and it has a good story that you want to keep watching.
Yeah, I think I binge watched it over 2 nights, probably, the whole series. It was my first introduction to an Apple TV exclusive show. So it's something that a lot of people may not have heard of, because if you don't have Apple TV, you wouldn't have seen it or heard of it. It's probably not advertised anywhere else. But big budget, large stars, good storyline, relevant themes. I think it ticked a lot of boxes and kept me on the edge of the seat. And I think it was the best show I saw all of last year. I recommend it to you really highly when I saw it. You've seen it recently. I saw it months ago when it first came out, so your memory's a bit fresher than mine. But I thought it was the best show I saw in the last 12 months. Okay, let's get into the rating or verdict. So you go first and tell us what you think.
I guess rating wise, I would probably say it's excellent to not that many criticisms. It's just more nitpicks. I would highly recommend watching the show because it's highly cast well, and I think it's well worth watching to get a perspective of what a news show is like. And yeah, I think I'll get to the nitpicks later, but I would say it's highly watchable and highly excellent. Unfortunately, the nitpicks are kind of noticeable, but highly recommend watching it.
Okay. I'm going to, as I said, it was the best show I saw in the last 12 months. As a season, I reckon it's almost perfect. I'd give it a 5 out of 5 for the season, but I can't give it a perfect score for the series because season 2 could be horrible and that would just ruin the whole thing. So as a season, it was perfect. It couldn't have been better. But as an overall show, just knowing that it seems like a weird way to rate things, but I don't want to give something a perfect score until it's finished. Once, if they do 5 seasons and it finishes and I still think it's a perfect show, I'd give it a 5. But a show that's still got more to come, I can't give it a perfect rating. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Which is the highest rating I've given anything. I like the length of the episodes. I like the amount of episodes. I really like the theme, and the cast is flawless. It was such a good cast. It was interesting to see Steve Carell in a role that wasn't funny, but he's in a lot of serious roles. I've seen them before, but this is kind of perfect because he does come across as that creepy guy that works in a workplace that's got all this money and power, and people gravitate towards him, and he knows that he can use that power to sexually abuse people, basically. So it's believable. He looks like that would be him. Nothing against Steve Carell. He just plays the role perfect, and
it's well cast.
And Jennifer Aniston's good in it, and that role for Reese Witherspoon suits her. She always, to me, comes across as the kind of bossy complainer person that would fight and argue at their point. That's what I see for Reese Witherspoon. So I think, perfect. Do you know if she had anything to do with the production? Because I know that she is a producer now and she's produced a few other shows.
I think so. I think most of them were ex-producers, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like she had something to do with it. So it was awesome. So 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Nitpicks, spoiler warning. What's your first nitpick?
I guess my first nitpick would be, I feel like the main problem with the show, the main storyline of the 2 main anchors and Stephen Carell is perfect. The main problem I have is that it has over maybe a bit too much. You got to focus on so many characters. You got your Black African American that wants to be the anchor. You got your weatherman and that female want to be a couple. You got so many things going on with the show. It's hard to keep, I guess, watching and keep track of what's going on sometimes. I know in life a lot of stuff happens, but to me it's who's who besides the 3 main characters. It's a lot of stuff going on, and to me it was and not all of the stuff paid off, unfortunately. You got so many characters, it was hard to...
I think you got to look at it and realize that some of the characters, it's not necessarily the characters they want you to understand, it's what they do. So the news, the 2 characters you're talking about that had the relationship, how
the weatherman,
I think she wanted to make it public but he didn't. I think the reason they put that in there, it's not so much that we need to care about them as individuals. It's more showing.
Statement.
I think it was trying to show us that there's been someone doing sexual assault in the workplace, and then these are two people that are having a relationship that's mutual, but that it's complex. That he doesn't like. They got to be careful what they do because it could be seen as she's trying to sleep with him to improve her position, or is he sexually assaulting her because someone else has done it. So I think the writers want you to see, kind of just feel that, but not actually care about the characters themselves.
Yeah.
That they're just trying to show elements of other relationships that go on inside a workplace.
Yeah. I just felt like there was too many characters in the show, and I think the main plot of the show with the three main characters was amazing, but sometimes it got to a point when there's so much going on, it got hard to keep track of who's who.
There was a lot of characters, I will give you that. I guess it depends how much time you want to invest in them, whether you can just look at them and go, they're not the main ones, or if you really want to follow their storyline. You got any more what's your other nitpicks? I don't really have any.
Other nitpick that I have is the intro. I thought it didn't really set the mood. It was a pretty bad song.
Can't picture what it was.
It was a ball at the beginning, and there were a lot of balls and everything in the beginning. And
yep, I know what you're talking about.
It was a terrible intro.
It had nothing to do with it. I think it was just them trying to be... I feel like someone had discovered a new toy and they wanted to show it off.
It was a terrible intro.
I don't know if I rate a show's intro because intros don't even need to be there, so I guess you can just skip them. I don't think I've ever watched the show and gone, oh, Jesus, this is a good intro, I want to watch it. Like, once you've seen it once, you skip it.
And I guess other nitpick that I have, again, it goes in its favours that the episodes were too long, but they were amazing episodes, so it's kind of a, thing that I didn't have a problem that they were too long, but it kind of felt like sometimes the times when they didn't focus on the great things, it kind of went a little bit too long, but they needed to be that length, so it's a kind of a nitpick in a way, but it's like,
Okay. Let's break down the characters. What do you think about Jennifer Aniston's character? Because I think every character, the main characters...
Three main characters.
Yeah, they're made to be seen as both villains and heroes in some way. Like, not to that extent, but you assume that she's good, but then you learn that she does bad things. Like, they all have two sides to each other, like anyone. So what's your opinion of Jennifer Aniston's character, or I think Alex Levy is her name in the show?
I liked her character growth. I thought Jennifer Aniston did a good performance, and it was interesting to see how the character kind of preferred the job and how their marriage was, I guess, went along just for the sake of, the public figure. It was interesting to see how the mother kind of the daughter blamed the mother for how the wedding was broken up, even though the husband said he didn't want to be with the mother. It was interesting how the daughter mindset was on that. But overall, I enjoyed her character, how at the end she did the right thing, and throughout the journey she was self-obsessed. It was a good character arc.
Yeah, so they wanted us to see the struggles of a female trying to become famous in a male-dominated industry, and how that she can't do things the same as her co-star would because she would get in trouble for them, and she has to work twice as hard to have the same opportunities almost. We see that reflects in her relationship breakdown. Her daughter kind of just gets sent off to boarding school and given money and not really mothered, and that she's actually aware of the sexual misconduct that went on, but kind of
denies it.
Yeah, kind of pretended like she didn't realise it, or she didn't speak up. About Reese Witherspoon's character, so she's meant to be she doesn't play it by the book, but she wants justice at any cost,
and she wants the truth.
Yeah, and she wants the truth, and she doesn't want to be a journalist that just says things that's going to make them famous. She wants to ask the tough questions because she seeks the truth. She's a journalist, not a actor or what other journalist might be on those shows.
Yeah, she's an interesting character because you think she's the main character, but I don't know, that's what the show kind of does well because it makes you care about all three characters, and then one episode it's like, oh, I don't like this character. They're kind of all three good characters, and the show does a great job of a character arc throughout the show, and then sometimes you see her truth kind of rubs people the wrong way with the female that went through the sexual stuff with Mitch in Las Vegas. You see how that breaks down, and then she kind of blames herself.
You realise that Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston have been together famously before in other shows? Yeah, they were sisters, is that right? They were sisters and friends, so I'm assuming that's probably why they've reunited for this show, because they had worked with each other before. Yeah, it's cool to see when actors reunite in that way. What about Steve Carell's character? I personally, even though he's the bad guy, I've sympathised with him. I felt that until we found out more about the story, I felt that he was being he was kind of guilty before proven guilty. They just assumed guilt, and as we watch it more, he wasn't a great guy, but some of his actions could have been perceived as iffy, like where they were assault, or were they like it wasn't as though he raped people. It was more that people, I don't know, felt that if they slept with him, would that improve their position in the job? Like if he's, I don't know, it's not as though he held someone down and said, if you don't do this, you can get fired, but he passed off a vibe that people felt that they needed to, otherwise they would face consequences. So I don't know, it makes you see things from different sides. What was your opinion of him as a character?
You kind of, I guess, feel sorry for him at the start because everyone was like, oh, you know, you did it, and then as it kind of went on, you're like, oh, maybe you did do it. It was a roller coaster of a journey with Mitch, and then even his friend that was like, oh,
was this the producer or something? He's meant to be like, it was like Harvey Weinstein, but their version of him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're a rapist, so I'm not.
Yeah, and his friend kind of like basically did all the bad things, but he thought it was appropriate and he could justify it each time. He's like, oh, well, I'm famous and people want to get places, that's what you got to do. I've kind of mixed things about Mitch. It's weird that a show can make you sympathise with a villain in a way. I always value a show that does that, where I don't know, whether it's Breaking Bad or Power, where you're rooting for the bad guy opposed to for the police or the person that's been wrong done by. So he said in the review, so we later on find out that the big producers kind of knew about what was going on and found every way to sweep it under the rug because they didn't want Mitch Kessler to get in trouble because he was their star. So they're just as at fault, if not maybe worse, because they could have stepped in and prevented further things happening. So in the last episode, what's their big scheme to try and unravel and show the world the evil that's behind the scenes?
Well, basically Chip, the head anchor of the studio, and then I forgot who the other main character.
Is this the biggest boss?
The one under him, the one that like to kind of drink and... Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, there's so many characters, but they're like, we're going to take him down. So their plan is to bring Mitch in the studio and then basically get him to kind of confess and get him to, say what happened, and basically the bigger boss knew about it, and then things didn't go to plan, and then it kind of ended with the two main female characters basically doing it, and then it...
So they hijacked their own news basically, and then talked about what was going on and told people they need to speak out, and it was a good episode, and that's what really I know, cemented it for me. Like, I liked it the whole way through, but the show kind of did everything you wanted it to do. There wasn't any time you go, oh, they could have done that, but they didn't. Like, from memory, was Chip the guy that he hired? He, like, always wore the suits, and he hired Reese Witherspoon's character, and they went out for dinner, and he, like, provided her, like, a hotel room when she got drunk.
That was the other man.
That's the other dude. So him, did you throughout the series think he was going to be a villain? Like,
no.
I know, because he always did nice things, but I just felt that maybe there was something sinister about him, and I was really happy when that worked out that he wasn't, that he was a good guy all along.
Yeah, I was hoping so as well.
Yeah, there's some good dynamics for characters in this show. Other questions for you.
What was your thoughts about the fight between Chip and Mitch? And Chip was like, you need to tell the truth or I'm going to, like, get the authorities or something on you?
I don't actually remember it, to be honest. You might have to describe it a bit more for me, because it's been a while since I watched the series.
Well, basically, they were at the hotel room where they were talking about doing this assignment, and then Chip is like, you need to own up to what you did, or I'm going to, tell the authorities, and then they had a big punch-up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then Mitch ended up going on the show and doing the interview and helping their plan, but kind of admitting he was guilty in a way, but in order for the bigger goal. Is that what happened?
Oh, well, that didn't get to happen because and Reese Witherspoon's character unfortunately did the interview with the person that we got to see in Las Vegas. Mitch was accused of raping, and then she actually... There wasn't any suicide note, so we weren't there to see it, but she actually committed suicide.
Yeah, because she was getting asked to be interviewed and she felt the pressure of that, is that right?
Yeah.
Because she was the one that she tried to report the sexual... So that's the one scene where we actually see him assaulting someone, because from memory she wants to have sex with him when she doesn't know how to say no, and he kind of then... Like, it is rape, but at the same time... Yeah, it's a... If you want, I guess I can get into it. But and then from that, she goes to report what happened. Yeah. And they then go, oh, well, we've just promoted you. And just as a way of saying, shut up, we'll just keep promoting you. And then, so they're going to interview her, and she ends up overdosing, whether it was on purpose or by accident.
Who knows?
Yeah. And that kind of, like, shocks everyone when they find that out, right? And that's... I guess that's probably what season 2 is going to surround, and it probably proves his guilt, he's guilty more, and probably would make him feel more remorseful for his actions, knowing that his agenda, or even the news team, that they tried to not bully her, but they forced her into doing an interview about something she probably didn't want to talk about again, and then it pushed her to death in the end. So it's does touch on a lot of themes, this show. Any other nitpicks or discussion points?
I guess we better talk about how in episode 1, how Reese Witherspoon's character made her name by people were protesting, and she was unhappy with how this person didn't know anything about Cole or anything, and then that's how she became... That's how the events happened when Jennifer Aniston's character basically got her as her anchor.
Yeah, so she's arguing at the protesters. There's people there that
are filming.
So from memory, was she on the side of getting rid of the Cole, or saying Cole wasn't as bad as people were saying?
Oh, she just wasn't happy with this protest about not having facts about or information. She was yelling out facts to him and stuff.
Yeah. And did she end up punching him or something?
Oh, something like that,
yeah. And then she gets... So you question whether she knew that she was being filmed, so she put it on in order to get famous.
Who knows? That's what Jennifer Aniston's character questioned when they did the interview. And
I guess I was saying to you off camera that, well, in the show, she loses her job because of it, so that's a big risk to want to be filmed in something. And then I just remembered her nickname they call her like... it's like 2 F words something, and because apparently on camera she like screwed up, she goes, oh fuck, she swears, and then she did it again.
Mm.
And so that because of that, it kind of hindered her career, and that's why she was always a field reporter. But I like her as a character. I didn't like. There was really, in my opinion, nothing to dislike about the show. I'm very much looking forward to season 2, and I haven't watched the trailer yet, so maybe that's something we might react to or discuss at some point.
So in your eyes, out of the 3 main characters, who do you feel like is the main character, or do you like that the show kind of uses the 3 main characters and it's kind of not focused on one character?
It's a tough one. The show surrounds Steve Carell, but I think features Jennifer Aniston the most. So to me, I think she is the main character that features, but he's the main reason for the show. So, and yeah, I don't know, it's a hard question to answer. It's pretty shared. I'm certain Reese Witherspoon's not the main character. She's the supporting actor to whoever is the main.
And did you like how Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston got together, with how Jennifer Aniston won the award and then got told, well, you're not going to get all of your requests, so she basically thought, I sort of like Reese Witherspoon's character, but it's like, I better do it, and then
it's a clever way of doing things, that she was being given the heads up, you're going to lose your job, you need to negotiate. She negotiates. She goes, I want to pick my anchor, and they're like, no, well, we want this person to do it. She's like, no, I want to pick it. And then because they wouldn't give her a choice, she, when receiving an award for being like an excellent female or something in the industry, she's like, oh, well, how about I just announce that this other female is going to join the show, even though she was not. And then the news, they have no other option but to meet her demands, because it would look horrible for them to go, no, that's not true, she lied. And they go, what, you don't want 2 females? Are you sexist? So she played their hand. It's very, very clever.
Because she also got told that they bought the award for her as well.
So it's very clever. It's clever writing, and it's a clever additive to the story.
So what do you think season 2 could be about, or what would you like them to focus on with the season? And are you fine with 2 seasons, or would you like them to do a 3rd season?
It probably only needs 2 seasons. It doesn't seem like a show that continues on once this sexual assault thing is resolved. What could their following stories be about? And I think if they tried to, it would probably ruin what they've done well so far. So I think it's obviously going to follow the backlash of Mitch, more maybe even a court case or some sort, and probably the news channel getting in a lot of trouble for people finding out what they've done, and then and Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon's characters facing consequences of what they did to their boss.
And maybe investigation to the woman that if she did commit suicide, like more into a look to if it was suicide or...
Yeah, I think so.
Because it seemed weird, because she got a promotion somewhere else and she seemed happy that she was going, and then she just dies, or suicide note or anything. Yeah,
so there's a lot to work with there. I think it's going to be a good season. I guess we don't know how this season's going to pan out, whether there's going to be a 3rd, but I can't imagine so. I feel like it could have been 1 season, but it would have had to been a really long season. So to me, 2 seasons is really just 1 super long season cut in half, because it'd be too much to film in one section. So yeah.
Is there any of the side characters that you're looking forward to seeing, or storylines coming?
Or I'm not saying I'm not interested, just none stand out. They're just side characters that try and build onto this. They're there to show you work culture, really, to show you the toxic culture in the environment and how in their workplace and how it's affected by Mitch's actions. I think that's all they're there for.
Do you think will there will become like rivalry in season 2. Like we'll get to see other news channels and they'll have more of a rivalry. Or
they kind of did in this one. They had the other channel, and there was the actress on there that's from The Office, I believe. She was like the anchor on there. So she's one of the writers from The Office, and she's in a few movies actually. I wish I could think of her name, but she's actually really famous and talented. But mainly for off-camera work with some on-camera stuff. So yeah, there was that. So I think maybe we will see another rivalry with them. Yeah, overall, as I said, 4.5 stars. My favourite show in the last 12 months.
Well, I guess we've got to wait until September 17th to see season 2.
Yeah.
Do you have any wild theories of like anything, any bold predictions or anything?
No, I think maybe Mitch might get a job somewhere else. I know maybe that could be about it. That's my only prediction, that somehow he might come out on top and get another job. Yeah, that's probably my only prediction I'm thinking.
Well, thanks for helping, Luke. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the show if you decide to watch it, and hope you enjoy season 2 as well. Like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.